Welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management, a weekly conversation with area leaders about how to persevere during uncertain times. Now here's your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. You know, what a challenging times always seem to be taking place, but when you talk about small business, getting started, getting that business built, what does that take to happen? Our guest today is Dan Lara, who is the director of the Kansas Small Business Development Center based at Fort Hays State University. And Dan comes to us with over a decade of experience in economic development and, frankly, a proven record for developing significant and securing significant funding for Kansas communities. So it's good to have you with us on our program today, Dan. And I know we talk about challenging times, but you seem to be the right guy to lead us here. So tell me a little bit about your background, because you've just been on the job just now about 4 weeks. What's going on? How did you get here?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate this opportunity to talk about the SBDC. And yeah, I've had a great career, a lot of it in economic development. Most recently was with the Economic Development Administration with the U.S. Department of Commerce, where I brought projects, infrastructure projects, workforce training projects, and other economic development projects for Kansas, Nebraska, and Western Missouri. So that was what I was doing for the past 4 years. And previous to that, I was with the Kansas Department of Commerce in a leadership role. And then before that, I was on Capitol Hill working as a staffer for various congressional offices. And then I've spent some time in the nonprofit world working for a couple of great nonprofit healthcare organizations.
Well, you certainly have a good background of getting things started and being able to grow that. What's interesting is I was looking down through some of the numbers, and this is based out of Fort Hays State University, and the SBDC provides services, frankly, to entrepreneurs and businesses across the state, and those numbers are significant.
Yeah, we touch a tremendous amount of clients across the state. We have a presence in all 105 counties, whether your county is covered by one of our regional centers, or we contract with a number of different county economic development groups and regional economic development groups to put people actually in the areas where they're have challenges either starting small businesses or getting a small business off the ground. And we offer a variety of services. And what's important to note there is that we offer those services at no or low cost to the client. So it's a very efficient way for someone who needs help to get that help and get it quickly. And if you just need a small amount of help, we can do that. Or if it needs to be a longer term engagement, we can do that as well. So,
well, let's talk about that just a little bit. It's one thing to say, hey, I want to start a business. It's another thing to say, hey, this is a good business, or this is something that can grow, and now I need the financing to make that happen. What role do you play in that whole process from, boy, this is really a good business, and maybe on the other end, this business is never going to fly, and here's some money, here's people who will finance it. How far along that whole process, or all of it, do you guys help with?
Yeah, we can help with a variety of business activities, whether you need business planning, whether you need marketing, outreach help, financial assistance, help with your taxes, developing website or social media presence. We can help point you in the right direction if you want to do like government contracting or other types of contracting. We have a capital access center. So if you're a business that needs help really drilling down to get access to various types of capital, we can help with that as well. So it's really a wide breadth of services that our consultants and centers can offer.
So when somebody comes to you, do they need something more than a legal pad? Do they need a business plan? Do they need a business already started where now they need more help? What do they bring to you initially?
Yeah, they need to have they need to have the business registered, and then we can help from that point on. And like you said, there are some business ideas that may not be the best, and we can help evaluate that and let the client know, hey, this may not be something that you um, may not be successful for the long term, or here are some alternatives that you can look at and to get you pointed in the right direction, or maybe to point you in another direction that's best suited for your talents and background.
Well, Dan, I like that. Sometimes the best news is an answer that says this isn't the best idea, that are just going to save everybody a lot of time and grief. But I'm guessing some of the businesses come because they've talked to others and they don't have the resources or the financing through, say, a bank or the typical financing thing. And so they're saying, okay, how do I finance to get started? And I think what you play a role is not only that. I was looking at some numbers here, and since 2016, you've helped nearly 200 businesses get started. You, as the group, had done that. Over 32 million in capital raised, 39 million in client sales increase. You've had 4,300 jobs there, and 1,300 plus businesses that you guys have helped. And so you see that means there's a broad group of people. So if somebody comes they go to a local bank, do you recognize or do you encourage them to go find the traditional process, then come to you? Or would you rather be the first stop to get it started?
I would recommend that if a client or a business has not sought financing, that it would be a good idea to talk to us first, because there are certain strategies. And of course, if you haven't developed a business plan, having that first and then going to a bank to get financing, I think increases your chances much better to be able to successfully navigate that process. And our consultants can give you more background guidelines, helpful information that would make that process go a lot smoother. And of course, I love our network. I'm in the process of getting out to visit the different centers and consultants that we have. We have a talented group of individuals with a lot of experience in their local markets that know the different players. So whether you need financing or you need other types of help, there are a lot of other groups in Kansas that are ready and willing to assist small businesses, because that's really the backbone of the Kansas economy, especially in rural areas of the state in Western Kansas.
Explain your network a little bit so people understand. I know you're in all you just said in 105 counties, but what does it consist of?
So if you go to our website, kansassbdc.net, you will find a map of our service area. And so a large part of our state is covered by regional centers. And so there are ones in Topeka with Washburn University, Wichita State, Pittsburgh State University, University of Kansas, Johnson County Community College. And then the other parts of the state in Western Kansas are served by different economic development groups. And so we have consultants that cover all the other counties in the state, including the Northwest Innovation Center, which covers the 23 counties in Northwest Kansas. So if you go to the website, go to that map, you will see contact information. You can go to their website, or there's a phone number, email to reach out to those folks and get the process started.
Well, one of the things so important are the dollars involved with starting a new business and doing that. And one of the things you've done recently is with the U.S. Economic Development Administration, where I think you helped facilitate more than $70 million in funding for Kansas. $70 million, that's a lot of money.
Mhm.
And with all the changes going on in Washington right now, how might this impact the work that you're doing? Or is it too early to tell?
I think it's too early to tell. I think a lot of people understand and have read from the news or other sources that the budget is a big topic of discussion right now in DC. I was just there a couple of weeks ago to introduce myself to the Kansas congressional delegation and talk a little bit about the SBDC network. Those things are going to play themselves out here in the next few weeks. The federal budget's under a continuing resolution, which ends in a couple of weeks. And so Congress will need to make some decisions about what they're going to do with the budget moving forward. But I'm confident that small businesses and our federal funding flows through the Small Business Administration, that this administration will support small businesses across the country, and our delegation will support small businesses in Kansas. So I'm confident that we'll have the funding that we need to continue to serve clients and move forward.
Well, Dan, you and I both know small business is the background of what happens in Kansas. Obviously, big business is great, but small businesses in all of our little communities across the state, whether it be in the southeast, northwest, whatever part of the state, small business is so important. And we're going to take a break and come back, and I want to ask what you've been seeing and what you're feeling as you're getting started as to the environment for new businesses, especially those wanting to get started. And then we'll find out how you, as a business person, somebody getting started, can get a hold of you, Dan, and your team to help make it go. So hang with me, Dan. We'll be right back. This is Forward Ever, leading in challenging times, back after this.
Since 1776, the United States of America continues to stand tall. It's been tested before, many times. Through grit and the ability to move forward, we create better tomorrows. We help our clients live their best lives to and through retirement. We make it easier. Thank you, Kansas. Worth Wealth Management, enhancing lives and strengthening families.
Welcome back to the second half of our program with Dan Laura, who's with the Kansas Small Business Development Center, based out of Fort Hays State, covers all 105 counties in the state of Kansas. And we were talking earlier about what all that means and how important it is to have some resources to help back you up if you're a small business, whether you're just getting started, whether you have an idea you want to get started. How do you make all of that happen? How do you find the funding for making that happen? So, Dan, I know you've been on the job for 4 weeks, so it may be a harder question to answer, but what do you anticipate when you're going out there for small business? Is it harder today, easier today? Are there more resources today? If you have an idea that you want to bring to fruition and get started in, say, downtown Kansas somewhere, small town, downtown Kansas, how hard is it to get started?
I think the first step is obviously, and again, shameless plug for the network, but if you have an idea, if you've started a business plan, but you're not quite sure how to move forward, is to contact our network and start vetting that idea, and work with us to see whether, number one, it's a viable idea. Number two, if you need resources to get pointed in the right direction for those, whether that's funding, additional business planning, working on outreach marketing, whatever you need, start with us first, and then, we can point you to in the right direction. These are challenging times with inflation, the economic environment. Those are things that small businesses have to navigate, and we can provide some context and good advice to be able to navigate those challenges and to help make your business a success. That's what we want to do, is to help small businesses thrive. And so we're ready to do that across our network.
Are there any limits? You know, today egg prices are going high. It's like, boy, I want to get some chickens and start an egg business. Probably not the best idea to do that in group, not a bad for maybe your family. But how broad of scope do you have? Do you go from ag type businesses to elder care businesses? What's the breadth of what you do?
We'll take a look at businesses in any industry. And so a lot of the businesses that we serve are what you would typically call Main Street businesses. So, you know, that could be your small retail shop on a street corner in Norton, Kansas. It could be a convenience store, a grocery store, restaurant. We'll also work with businesses that could be suppliers to bigger operations. I know that Kansas has been extremely fortunate in the past 6, 7, 8 years with bringing in, say, the Panasonic plant in DeSoto in northeastern Kansas, the Hillmar cheese manufacturing facility in Dodge City, and I know that there are a lot of folks that are interested in supporting those businesses by becoming suppliers or supporting businesses for the workforce that will be congregating around those businesses. So again, we stand ready to help anyone who has started something but needs to go to the next step or is thinking about a good business that they want to get off the ground.
So if they do that, they have the idea. How do they find you, Dan, and your team? What do they do first to find you and then get set up with a process or a meeting to get started?
Yep. Go to kansassbdc.net. We're also on all the social media networks, so you can find contact information there. Like I said, if you go to our website, you can click on a map that shows our service area, and there you can link to the specific consultant or regional center that would be able to help you out. Phone numbers, emails. As I said, we're on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, or Twitter. So there's plenty of ways to be able to find us and get that contact information to get your journey started.
Now, do you have a team here in town at Fort Hays State University, Dan?
Yes, we have lead center staff that are at Fort Hays. The Hays area is serviced by the Northwest Innovation Center, so they would start there to get help specifically in that regard. But then we also have a presence in Topeka and then Johnson County in Northeast Kansas.
Well, Dan, it's exciting to have you and your team here in Northwest Kansas at Fort Hays State University, kind of leading the charge across the state. Small business, entrepreneurs, so important to what we do in Kansas. And thank you for taking your time. Thank you for being, I know you're 4 weeks onto the job. I hope we can touch base maybe a little way down the road and say, how's it going? And see what you're finding out. Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely, Gary. I appreciate you giving me the chance to talk about the SBDC and make that effort. So thank you.
All right, Dan Lara is our guest today here on Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Time. Dan is the new director of the Kansas Small Business Development Center based out of Fort Hays State University. Thanks for listening to our program today. Thanks for being a part of Forward Ever. Program is brought to you by Worth Wealth Management, where you can live with confidence. I'm Gary Shorman.
Thanks for joining us for Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management. Join us right here next week for another episode with host Gary Shorman. Until then, remember to move forward ever, backward never.